The King's Avatar, Chapter 1327 Reason, audio source, wuxia-world-audiobook.com. Chapter 1327, Reason. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. Dancing Rain Fell. Wang Jiexi was just this type of person. He never failed at crucial moments. He would lose, but he would never make anyone lose confidence in him. As a result, even if he was one against many, even if he were playing against 3 opponents from Happy like last time, Tiny Herb's players and fans would still put their faith in him. That time, it was Happy's home game. And this time, it was Tiny Herb's. The moment Dancing Rain fell, Chen Guo could only see Wei Chen's lip moving. She reckoned that he was still cursing at something. As for the actual contents, he probably couldn't even hear himself. The cheers from the Tiny Herb crowd had drowned out all other noise, and this was just the reaction after killing off an opponent with only 21% health left. If Wang Jiexi was able to win this team competition, how excited would these Tiny Herb spectators become? Chen Guo really hoped a bucket of cold water would splash onto the crowd and cool them down. At this moment, Tang Ro's soft mist spawned onto the field. Wang Jiexi was able to beat Sumo Chung using only 8% of Vakaria's health. Compared to his incredible skill, this loss of 8% wasn't even considered as anything by many. The 100% health soft mist and the 92% health Vakaria stood together. Practically everyone favored the latter to win. Wang Jiexi. He truly deserves his reputation. Quote, after taking down Sumo Chung, who had beat Lu Xiaobi and Lu Fei, Ruin Cheng became ecstatic. His state of mind wasn't much different than that of the Tiny Herb fans. Pan Lin and Li Yibo looked at him, wondering whether this guy would pounce onto the table and hug the screen. As long as Wang Jiexi is here, Tiny Herb is unlikely to lose the group arena. Ruin Cheng continued to sigh. His tone was extremely similar to that of Xianglin Zhao Wan, when he said the words, "I'm stupid, really stupid." Pan Lin and Li Yibo was unable to respond to him. They were the official commentators of the match. Communicating with a brain-dead fan was impossible. Fortunately, Soft Mist and Vakaria had started fighting. Okay, let's watch the match. Pan Lin's spirits rose. Dragon breaks the ranks. Ruin Cheng shouted. Pan Lin and Li Yibo were stunned. Where Dragon breaks the ranks come from? Ha, she didn't use Dragon breaks the ranks. Ruin Cheng sneered. Pan Lin and Li Yibo continued to be stunned. Tang Ro indeed liked to open with Dragon breaks the ranks, but this was an official match and the official commentary. Your way of explaining things was a bit too problematic, no? The two didn't have the energy to complain. Tang Ro was very direct. Whether or not she used Dragon breaks the ranks didn't affect her style. Pan Lin and Li Yibo were listening to Ruin Cheng's nonsense as the two players fought. They had unexpectedly missed such a detail. The commentators were suddenly at a roadblock. The two people glared angrily at Ruin Cheng. Ruin Cheng was watching the match closely with excited spirits. The two characters were going back and forth, but from the switches between offense and defense, Wang Jiexi held the initiative. Wang Jiexi is worthy of his reputation. Ruin Cheng praised. 222. Pan Lin and Li Yibo were feeling like Ruin Cheng was pulling aggro onto Wang Jiexi, but with his praise, the two started feeling more and more disgusted with Vakaria. However, Vakaria having the advantage was a reality at the moment. She's improved again. After half a season, Wang Jiexi and Tang Ro fought once again. This was his first thought, especially in terms of rationality. Tang Ro's eagerness to win was extremely high. Whether she won or lost, she would never compromise or retreat. However, there were always times where compromising and retreating were the better options. These weren't a part of Tang Rou's vocabulary though. She would always choose a single path and continue forward. This choice would sometimes surprise the opponent, but it would also sometimes backfire. However, this time, as he praised her improvement, Wang Jiexe could only force a smile. Her choices becoming more rational wasn't because she chose to compromise or retreat. It was because her choices became more precise when she charged forward. Her understanding of skills had become more thorough, and she had accumulated more experience. She used everything she had to strengthen her always forward playstyle. This girl would always press forward when improving her own style. Wang Jiexe could only give her praise. However, not enough. While Wang Jiexe praised Tang Rou's improvement, Tang Rou once again felt the disparity in skill. Perhaps a part of it was because of the difference in equipment, but Tang Rou would never regard these as reasons. She only wanted to win. She didn't want to lose. A skill gap didn't necessarily represent a certain win or loss. Competition was fought, not compared. But Wang Jiexe knew this reasoning even more clearly than her. He wouldn't relax facing a less skilled opponent. Bang! When soft mist dancing fire flowing flames swung, it hit the lava flask thrown by Vacaria. The flask shattered, and lava flew out. If lava flask directly hit a target, the lava would deal bonus damage. Wang Jiexe had unexpectedly used Lava Flash as an attack. Lava splattered along with Stardust Extermination. Dong! A parry. Soft mist dancing fire flowing flames blocked Stardust Extermination. However, the lava that splashed onto soft mist quickly dealt damage to her. Sure enough, she didn't retreat. Her offense had become more rational, more coherent, and more threatening. But what about her defense? There were many ways to defend while attacking. Directly eating damage was very bold and aggressive, but the most optimal choice should be the most rational and the most effective. It wasn't single-mindedly pursuing a certain direction. Excessively using a brute force method might turn out like Liang Fang, who traded too much of his health away and lost because he was unable to get it back. If she could fight Yu Wenzu 1v1, she would probably have a clearer understanding of this point. Unfortunately, the chances of that happening were very low. It wasn't necessary though. Ye Zhu had probably noticed this point too. Tang Rou didn't need to practice her offense excessively. She should be focusing her time on her defense. Maybe she didn't like to defend as a result of her personality, and she didn't like to spend too much thought on it. But the problem was that the more she improved on her offense, the greater the imbalance between offense and defense. No matter how great you were, it wasn't possible to always be the one attacking. There would always be times when the opponent would force you to defend. When one had a big lead, using a brute force method like eating damage was fine, but what about when one had a small lead or did not have the lead? Such an irrational choice would be fatal. Just like now. A star symbol suddenly shot at Soft Mist's eyes. Tang Rou had Soft Mist twist her body to dodge it and then stepped forward to close she distance. But with this step forward, star symbol pulled closer. The instant star symbol blossomed into star ray, the radiating light filled half of Tang Rou's screen. The star ray didn't land on Soft Mist, but the following attack did. Because half of Tang Rou's screen was blinded by star ray's light, she couldn't see the attack. It was just an instant that the viewers would only be able to understand if they watched the replay in slow motion. However, Vacaria took advantage of this instant to land an attack. Lost. Tang Rou fell. Tang Rou lost again to Wang Jiexe. Losing to a top god in the alliance shouldn't be anything strange, but Tang Rou wasn't willing. She was never content with losing to any opponent. And this wasn't her first time losing to Wang Jieqi. If you counted their fights, she had never won once. Wang Jieqi. He truly deserves his reputation. This hand was too beautiful. The commentary was overtaken by Ruin Cheng. WuxiaWorldAudio.com. This guy looked like he wanted to jump onto the table and dance. In particular, when Tang Rou walked down from the stage, disappointed and regretful, Ruin Cheng became even more excited. Tang Rou still has a long ways to go before she can reach a god. Do the viewers still remembers that 1v3 promise? I wonder if she still has such plans. Ruin Cheng was radiating with delight as he remarked, it was a splendid match. Pan Lin couldn't bear letting this guy continue talking. Tang Rou performed well today, but Wang Jieqi was more shrewd, Li Yibo said. Yes, Tiny Herb has won back 2 points in the group arena. Wang Jieqi didn't disappoint his teammates, the stadium, and all of the Tiny Herb fans watching this broadcast. Pan Lin continued to stir up the crowd. Long live the king! The Tiny Herb fans at the stadium shouted out this proclamation. Their respect for Wang Jieqi had reached such a level. Wang Jieqi didn't immediately walk down from the stage like Tang Rou did. After all, this was Tiny Herb's home stadium and the break between the group arena and Team Competition was rather long. He stayed on stage for a while longer, waving his hands at the fans all around him. Tang Rou went back to Happy's player area and smiled at the players comforting her. She sat down to the side rather dejectedly. Your attacks weren't bad. Ye Zhu turned his head and said to her. Not bad. Tang Rou forced a smile. If they weren't bad, then why could she still not suppress the opponent? However, in a match, you can't always be attacking. Do you really think your opponent won't be able to use even a single skill? Ye Zhu said. I understand. Tang Rou knew that Ye Zhu's words were reasonable. In this match, how many of Wang Jieqi's attacks were able to stop your offense? Ye Zhu said. Tang Rou stared at the replay on the big screens. From time to time, it would show her a depressing moment. How to maintain your offense without it being interrupted is something you need to be very mindful of. If not, your offense will always be stopped. Several times of that, and you'll be left wondering where your health went, Ye Zhu said. Tang Rou continued to stare at the replay. Those sorts of moments flashed on screen again and again. Starting from next round, you'll be placed first, Ye Zhu said. That way you'll have more opportunities for real combat practice. Okay, Tang Rou nodded her head. She understood the reasoning behind Ye Zhu's arrangements. Going third might be the important anchor for the group arena, but if the other two players before her performed spectacularly, there might not be much left for her to do. Only the person going first in the group arena had the most opportunities to gain 1v1 experience. That won't be a problem, right? Ye Zhu saw that Tang Rou didn't mind and asked Fang Rui. Of course not, Fang Rui said. Ye Zhu put on a helpless face. I originally wanted you to go first, so you would have more chances to get used to the class change. I put her as third to be the anchor and now, everyone needs to go first to practice. This suits her the most. Fang Rui laughed. In fact, the person who goes first can also practice as the anchor if she still plans on a 1v3. It's too bad there's only one person who can go first. Ye Zhu sighed. Nom Yummy TLN, Xiang Linzhao is a character from a famous short story Blessing, by Lu Xun's End chapter. The King's Avatar, Chapter 1328. The Stage on Sky Arena, audio source, WuxiaWorldAudiobook.com. Chapter 1328. The Stage on Sky Arena. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. After the individual competins, Happy temporarily held a 3-2 lead. But Wang Jiexi's performance during the group arena had completely changed the atmosphere of the entire stadium. Even if Team Tiny Herb had a 5-0 lead, the fans might not be as excited as they were now. This kind of atmosphere once again put Chen Guo in a bad mood. Clearly, Happy was still in the lead, and clearly, the team competition had yet to be played, but the fans of Tiny Herb looked as though they had already won the final victory match. Was this because of Wang Jixi? Looking at the Tiny Herb fans around her, Chen Guo noticed that their gazes were indeed fixated on one point, their team's captain, Wang Jixi. Because Wang Jixi had appeared in the group arena, and because Wang Jixi would definitely appear in the team competition, they immediately had a different level of confidence in their team. To Chen Guo, this was a kind of blind faith. Tiny Herb performed very well during the group arena, but it wasn't certain how strong their performance would be during the team competition. With such a ruckus in the crowd, the downside was that it filled the entire break between the individual rounds and the group competition, making it extremely difficult for Team Happy's members to communicate. If this was always the case, it would almost be a necessity for the teams to have a separate room to prepare in. These guys are acting like they've already won, we need to make them shut up. Fang Rui expressed, with everyone understanding what he was referring to. There's no need to be influenced by the atmosphere. Think about how calm we were when playing at Tyranny's home stadium, Yi Zhu said. Do you have to say these kinds of things on our behalf? Chen Guo said. It's an objective matter of fact. Isn't it the same no matter who says it? Yi Zhu asked. But now that you say that, there's no motivation for anyone to learn. If you don't believe me, just ask them. Chen Guo said. None at all, Fang Rui replied. Ha, Tang Rou laughed. Steamed Bun, you shut up. Seeing that Steamed Bun was about to say something, Chen Guo hurriedly stopped him. Alright then, since everyone is so unhappy about their arrogance, let's strike them a ruthless blow during the team competition. We'll focus on Wang Jixi, Yi Zhu replied. Have you also lost all your rationality? Chen Guo yelled. At this moment, Qiao Yivan meekly raised his hand and asked. When we were preparing for this round, didn't we practice to focus on Wang Jixi in the first place? Ah. Chen Guo was startled and realized that she had been tricked once again. Let's get ready to go on stage. Yi Zhu called. Team Happy's away game against Team Tiny Herb had finally reached the deciding tiebreaker round. The participants in the team competition walked onto the stage in succession. Team Happy, Yi Zhu, Su Mucheng, Fang Rui, Tang Rou, and Wen Yi, Qiao Yivan. Team Tiny Herb, Wang Jixi, Zhu Bin, Gao Yingji, Lucio B, Yuan Baiqing, Liang Fang. It seems that the lineup for both teams haven't changed very much, it's still the usual lineup for the team competition, commentator Pan Lin explained after seeing the list of names for both teams. Happy did make one change, Tang Rou is part of the original lineup, while Qiao Yivan is the sixth player. Li Yibo replied. This should indicate that they want to play a more aggressive style. Pan Lin replied. It does seem to be the case. Li Yibo nodded his head. Playing an aggressive style in their away game, how bold. Ruin Cheng laughed, but anyone could hear the mockery in his laughter, looking down on Happy for not knowing their own limits. On the side of Team Tiny Herb, Yuan Baiqing is playing his cleric, Aweto. This should also mean that they want to play a more aggressive game. Pan Lin said. Team Tiny Herb's healer was very unique. Their player could play two different characters and could choose to use either the cleric or the paladin in different competitions. And from this decision, one could roughly tell what Tiny Herb wanted to do in the team battle. Tiny Herb is playing a home game, there's no reason for them to focus on defense. Ruin Cheng replied, yes, it looks like this is going to be a very intense fight. I'm looking forward to it, Pan Lin said. While the commentators were discussing, the players had already exchanged greetings, entered the player booths, and the timer was ticking down to the start of the team competition. Let's see what map Tiny Herb has picked for the team battle. Pan Lin remarked. Sky Arena. Li Yibo was momentarily stunned when he saw the map that the players eventually loaded into. Selecting this map during the team battle is really very rare. Pan Lin was also shocked. Sky Arena was a map that could be considered extremely simple for use in the team battle. The only change in terrain in the whole map were the stairs. At the outermost regions of the map were terraces that looked down on the stage from above. In the middle was the stage itself, which in turn was surrounded by steps. This map. There shouldn't be too many complex ways to use the map features strategically, Li Yibo said. Would Tiny Herb have put any special effort into researching how to use the height difference from the steps? Pan Lin said. Li Yibo searched his mind for the details of Tiny Herb's past matches, but for a while couldn't give a definite answer. It seems that Tiny Herb has been very thorough in their aggressive stance. Ruin Cheng said, let's take a look and see how they're going to play aggressively. Li Yibo said, obviously favoring Ruin Cheng's opinion in this case. Very quickly, the characters from both sides finished loading in, each standing at opposite ends of the arena. Because of the high stage in the center of the map, the two teams couldn't see each other, but in reality, they were more or less at an equal distance from the stage, a special feature of the team battle. Sky Arena, why don't we just go on the stage and determine the winner? Yishu asked in the global channel, but none of Happy's characters made any immediate moves. Or how about you just come up, old Wang, and the two of us can fight it out, whoever loses will just have their whole team GG? Seeing that there was no response from the other side, Yishu provoked them once again. Team Tiny Herb still had no reaction, but the entire stadium was already in uproar because of Yishu's unbridled arrogance. I think I'm beginning to understand the hate that Tyranny has for him, Tang Rou said to the others with her. Losing 3 times in a row to Yishu, an excellent hero, was still bearable, but the crux of the issue was that they still lost after all the provocation and ridicule, making it truly unbearable. This kind of unbridled arrogance was something that was usually displayed by the villain, and afterwards, the hero would go and defeat him, slapping his face. But now, the hero couldn't win, instead losing to this kind of villain. How disgusted would the viewers be? And on top of that, this had happened for 3 years straight. Team Tyranny's hatred was indeed very scientific. It looked as if the Team Tiny Herb fans in the crowd were already going insane, but the players in the field looked pretty calm, with no one bothering to respond in the global channel. Instead, the characters from Team Tiny Herb all followed their established paths and advanced tactically. Wuxia-World-Audio.com. It can't be that you want me to let you have the first move. Yishu was still talking. That's enough. What's the point of talking so much rubbish? Wang Jiexi replied at long last, disapproving of Yishu's trash talk. At this time, Yishu sent a sigh of relief emoticon and said, "And here I thought that all of you weren't here." "We're here," Wang Jiexi once again replied and informed him. At this time, Tiny Herb's 5 players had already appeared at the edge of the stage, looking down from above and meeting Team Happy's 5 players face to face. "No one move, let them come down here." Yishu simply issued his orders in the global channel. Tiny Herb didn't hesitate and immediately charging down the flight of stairs from the stage. "Damn, they really came, let's retreat." Yishu once again shouted in the global channel. As such, Happy's characters started to turn around and ascend the stairs to the viewing terraces behind them, and the team that occupied the high ground abruptly changed again. "Let's open fire." Quote, as Yishu issued his command, Su Chung's Dancing Rain launched the first attack of the match. The artillery shells spat tongues of flame as they flew, but Tiny Herb's 5 members all scattered, with none of them being hit by the attack. But by their team composition, Team Tiny Herb didn't have any long-ranged attackers, with no one being able to directly engage in a firefight with a launcher. Team Happy, who are now occupying the high ground, seemed to be in a superior position at the moment. Possessing the high ground means having a definite advantage. If we were to use control of the high ground as the deciding factor in victory, then this map could be considered very complex. Each set of stairs has many layers, and the map is filled with them. So to make use of the high ground requires awareness of the details of the entire map. Unlike many other maps where controlling one focal point means establishing an absolute advantage, Li Yibo began discussing the current circumstances in the match. That's true, for now, Happy has the height advantage, but looking at the map, Tiny Herb could just change their position and climb to the same height as Happy, Pan Lin replied. So in this map, the battles that occur won't be the vertical battles centered around the stairs, but instead horizontal battles, Li Yibo said. You're right, Tiny Herb has already made such arrangements. It seems that they aren't too worried about Happy's temporary control of the high ground. The low ground is the inner circle of the map, with a smaller circumference, so it's not possible for Happy to occupy a high position and continually suppress Tiny Herb, Li Yibo said. That's right, Tiny Herb has moved around the inner circle, and gained horizontal distance from Happy. Yes, with this position, they can more or less start their advance. Alright, Tiny Herb is advancing. When the two teams face off horizontally on the stairs, the difference in height created by each step will affect many minor details. Tiny Herb must have done some special practice in this area, which is probably why they picked this map. Tiny Herb has charged up. Fuck. Li Yibo was excitedly explaining, but at the end, he let his mouth run for a moment, uttering a vulgarity during the broadcast and leaving the broadcasting team completely flustered. It was only one word, and it was too late now that it had been said, so Li Yibo had already covered his mouth. Tiny Herb charged up to the stairs, but Happy's members once again descended the stairs. And from the directions given out in Happy's team chat, everyone could see what Happy's intention was. The stage in the center. The stage in the center. If we're talking about controlling the high ground, this would be the most appropriate spot. The difference with the viewing terraces on the edge of the map is that here, the inner circle is the high ground, while the outer circle is the low ground, so if they have the high ground here, Tiny Herb can't just pull away horizontally and create a breakthrough point that way, Pan Lin exclaimed. Tiny Herb has also reacted very quickly. They've immediately turned around and calmed down. The two sides have the same intentions. They're both rushing towards the stage now. Is this really going to be where the match is decided? The steps here aren't as numerous as at the viewing platforms, but it's still enough for 10 people to battle it out. Without reaching the stage, the two sides have already started attacking. This isn't just a race, the two sides are using their attacks to control and restrict their opponents' movements. The two teams finally began to fight in earnest. End chapter.
The King's Avatar, Chapter 1329. Happy's primary target. Audio source: WuXiaWorldAudiobook.com. Translator: Gnome Yummy. Editor: Gnome Yummy. Boom, boom. As always, Dancing Rain struck first with her longest attack range. Shubin, Angelica, the Alliance's #1 knight with the so-called strongest shield wall of Psi, blocked Dancing Rain's line of sight cannon fire. Team Tiny Herb advanced as a whole, and soon enough, 2 star cards rose from behind the wall of Psi, one high, one low. Tiny Herb had 2 witches in their midst. Star A. The 2 star cards cracked, releasing 2 rays of light right at Happy's formation. However, Myriad Manifestation's umbrella shield. Lord Grim came to the head of the formation and opened up his Myriad Manifestation's umbrella, blocking the attacks like Shubin's Angelica. The 2 sides were now at mid-range of one another. Stringer, Sky-Piercing Strike. Happy's Dancing Rain and Boundless Sea launched attacks simultaneously. This was clearly an AoE attack that Shubin's Angelica alone didn't have the ability to block. As for Tiny Herb, the 2 witches once again struck as one. Lava Flask, Acid Rain Flask. The 2 flasks had only just been tossed when, with 2 bangs, Lord Grim's Myriad Manifestations had already switched to gun form, smoke rising from the muzzle. The 2 flasks had barely gone anywhere before they were smashed, lava and acid rain spraying across Tiny Herb's formation. Naturally, it wouldn't harm them, but this skill was clearly useless against Happy too. Scatter. Team Tiny Herb's characters scattered in all directions. Their offensive might have been stopped, but utilizing their need to dodge Happy's offensive, they could gain the higher ground first. Plus, on these steps, Happy didn't have anyone who could move as swiftly as a Vitch, thus they had to attack to prevent this. Laser Cannon. A beam of light came roaring out from Dancing Rain's cannon, but it wasn't headed for Kindtree. Valkyria. Dancing Rain's target was, shockingly, Valkyria. As they scattered to avoid the stinger, Tiny Herb's members lost Shubin's Angelica's protection. Dancing Rain's attack was surprisingly sent towards Valkyria. What sort of decision was this? Happy wasn't going to try and stop Kindtree. The 3 in the broadcasting room were puzzled. However, the pace of the battle didn't give them time to consider this problem carefully. Dragon breaks the ranks. Soft Mist charged out from Happy's formation, yet her target was also Valkyria. Boundless Sea, Lord Grim, all of Happy's characters had begun to attack, but their targets were all clear as day. Wang Jieshi, Valkyria, Tiny Herb's best player, Tiny Herb's most powerful character. They ignored Kindtree, who had charged towards the arena to gain the higher ground. Happy didn't seem to have any intentions to fight over this with Tiny Herb. No way. Happy's main target is Wang Jieshi? Pan Lin yelled. Hey, what a joke. Ruan Cheng sneered. This. Li Yibo fell silent, not sure what to think of this. He felt that Happy's strategy was irrational, so there must be something else to Happy's plans. He'd wait before judging. So this is your plan? Valkyria sidestepped the laser cannon, jumping on his broom and circling in the air, causing Soft Mist's dragon breaks the ranks to miss and leaving her 5 body units behind. Wang Jieshi ignored these obvious attacks, attention fixed on the other 2 who were charging over. Yishu's Lord Grim and Feng Rui's Boundless Sea. What were these 2 planning to do? Chi Blade. Boundless Sea struck first, sending out a knife hand that escaped almost everyone's notice. However, it didn't escape Wang Jiexi's gaze. Valkyria once again spun himself as he flew, dodging the wave of chi from the Chi Blade with alarming precision. Lord Grim and Boundless Sea were now right in front of him and he quickly gave them a disperse powder. However, there was no chance that these 2 would be struck so easily. One left and one right, they jumped to the side to avoid it. Shadow Cloak. Lord Grim flung a hand forwards, sending a grasping shadow at Valkyria. Valkyria swerved at an incredibly strange angle in midair, managing to dart out of the shadow. Shadow Cloak. Valkyria used the exact same skill in response. Lord Grim jumped back, but the Shadow Cloak continued to advance, unwilling to let him go. However, just as it was about to catch him, the shadows seemed to split and a figure darted through. Dragon Tooth. Lord Grimhead went right through Valkyria's Shadow Cloak with a Dragon Tooth. What bold judgment and mechanics? Would countering be possible if they waited for their opponent to make the first move? Too many people were unable to make such a judgment, but Wang Jieshi could. He could detect these minuscule timings, so he couldn't let Yishu do as he wished. Baccaria immediately retreated, dodging the attack, but tightly following this, a flash of cold light appeared in his view. Lord Grimm had darted to his side with a shincut. Swerve. Baccaria once again swerved through the air, dodging Lord Grimm's attack. His swift flight speed allowed him to pull away from Lord Grimm by a full 2 body units. The other members of Tiny Herb didn't just stand and watch their captain get ganged up on. At a time like this, with Wang Jieshi luring in the opponent's offensive, the others did what any core player of a powerhouse team would do and took the chance to find opportunities to attack. Charge. As Baccaria swerved elegantly through the air, Shubin's Angelica was already charging over. Triple slash. Lu Xiaobi's flying swords had also rapidly approached Feng Rui's Boundless Sea, interrupting the attack he was about to launch at Baccaria. It was just that Gao Yingji's kind tree seemed to be a little out of sync with the rest of the team. With Happy's strategic intentions exposed, his position made him seem like he had been lured away. However, was Happy really trying to take out Baccaria? Were they really going to kick this wall of tiny herbs from the get-go? WuxiaWorldAudio.com. Gao Yingji was suspicious. Should he really give up such a good position? Shattering the lands. Gao Yingji had yet to make a decision when Soft Mist, after her unsuccessful dragon breaks the ranks, had already charged back. This level 75 skill had been thrown rampantly towards the 3 tiny herb members over there. Boom! The magical energy seeped through the cracks into the ground. Lu Xiaobi dodged nimbly. Baccaria was even more elegant. The moment shattering the lands struck, he had sped out of range, and the moment the magical energy began to disperse, he was already back, launching an offensive on Soft Mist with Shubin's Angelica. Satellite beam. That was when the launcher's high-level skill descended from the skies, covering Soft Mist. The smaller beams whirled out from the center, aiming to strike at the two. However, Angelica raised his shield, catching the beam that crashed down on him and breaking through with brute force. Baccaria, on the other hand, gave a display of impressive agility, darting through the gaps between the beams without a scratch. The broom swung up, but, noticing an attack coming from the side, Wang Jieshi had to have Baccaria dodge once more. Lord Grimm had already arrived in front of him. Yingji, keep an eye on Boundless Sea. Xiaobi, go after the healer. In the Tiny Herb team chat, Wang Jieshi calmly made strategic arrangements. Against Happy's strategy, Tiny Herb was finally making arrangements to counter Boundless Sea. After hesitating for a moment, Gao Yingji, having already decided to give up this vantage point, began to search for the Chi Master's form with orders from his captain. Because the player was Feng Rui, the master of dirty play, his presence and intentions could become a major threat to Tiny Herb at any time. Tiny Herb did not dare underestimate him, even having someone go to keep an eye on him. Whoosh! Kind Tree flew down from the arena, advancing straight towards Boundless Sea. Feng Rui had already noticed but wasn't willing to give up on the attack he was prepping. Seismic throw. Boundless Sea slammed his palms onto the ground and she rushed at Angelica and Baccaria, who were advancing on Soft Mist. Soft Mist had managed to get out of her ending lag by then and used the opening Boundless Sea's seismic throw created Tyrant's destruction. Retreat. Angelica and Baccaria had to back away to dodge the sweep attack, and Soft Mist then sent forth a sky strike, the angle of it pulling them both in range. But Angelica threw his shield forth and turned, knocking the blow to one side. Baccaria then advanced, sweeping Soft Mist into the air. However, this knock-up skill of Witches was the worst of all 24 classes. The knock-up height was very limited. Usually, witches would fly up and use their broom, and there are other special methods of attack to send the target higher and higher. However, Baccaria wasn't given that opportunity. Lord Grimm's attacks once again came down on him. Clang! Baccaria's Stardust Extermination parried Lord Grimm's myriad manifestations umbrella, and a figure flashed by behind Baccaria. Kind Tree. Though Wang Jieshi had told him to keep an eye on Boundless Sea, the situation on the battlefield was ever-changing. Orders shouldn't be ignored, but oftentimes, players had to judge the situation and make decisions on their own. Seeing that Baccaria needed a helping hand with continuing his offensive and the Kind Tree was close enough, Gao Yingji immediately flew over to continue the attack that had been blocked by Lord Grimm. End chapter.